All right, now discussing the hurricane here, let's go ahead and look at some of the discussions surrounding it and some of the damage. Here's a video from Fox News, and his point is that they've turned this entire hurricane into a PR battle, right? There's zero genuine concern coming from Kamala or Biden. All they're worried about is the optics. That's all they've been worried about this entire time, and they've been scrambling to try and look like they've been doing anything at all to help the citizens or that they actually care. And all they've seen the people talk about is how they see right through it. Everybody knows that they don't really care. Everybody knows that they're just trying to make it appear as if they're doing enough or giving enough money or they have the funds to be able to even help, and we all know that that's not true. Here's the clip.
Today, and defended his administration's slow response to Hurricane Helene, calling any criticism of it disinformation and pointing fingers at Trump.
There's been reckless and irresponsible and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies about what's going on. Former President Trump has led this onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. That's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That is simply not true either. They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true.
Biden's fighting Trump harder than the hurricane. If he should be angry at anybody, he should be angry at his team. They didn't pre-position assets in North Carolina to help in the foothills. Just like Afghanistan and the border, the hurricane's now Trump's fault. Americans have lost power, their homes, some of them even their husbands. They're not worried about what politicians say on TV. They are worried because they haven't seen FEMA all week. Criticizing your government isn't misinformation. It's a God-given right of every American. Instead of battling to save lives, the Biden-Harris administration is treating natural disasters like a PR battle that need to be won with words instead of fast action.
There have always been issues in disasters. Maui, certainly this happened where there's misinformation or there's scams, but we've never seen anything like we have at this level.
The administration will also continue to work out and call out misinformation and conspiracy theories around the storm and federal and state responses. This is wrong, dangerous, and it must stop immediately.
Are we concerned about any misinformation or disinformation regarding evacuations that we need to clear up at this point?
There's been a lot of misinformation out there, Madam Vice President, that's for sure.
The only misinformation we've heard is that Biden's doing a great job. Oh, and if you just drive your electric car, Cat 5 hurricanes will shrink into Cat 2s. Americans are naturally suspicious of the government after they lied to us about, I don't know, Vietnam, Iraq, COVID, Russia, the president's health. This isn't a cheap fake. North Carolina sees the aftermath, and Biden and Harris were late.
So let's look at one more clip about this, and then we'll discuss it, which Biden, they cut it off early in that, which they don't want to spread the misinformation and malinformation. Let's go ahead and watch this, which is where Biden mentions the weather manipulation. Here it is.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, a congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's got to stop. In moments like this, there are no red or blue states. There's one United States of America, where neighbors are helping neighbors. Volunteers and first responders are risking everything, including their own lives, to help their fellow Americans. State, local, and federal officials are standing side by side. Let me repeat, no one should make the American people question whether their governments will make sure that this is acting when it strikes. They'll be there.
What did he just say? No one, let me make this clear. Okay, make it clear. Tell me.
No one should make the American people question whether they're side
make
by
it clear.
Side. Let me repeat. No one should make the American people question whether their governments will make sure that this is acting when it strikes. They'll be there. We will. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre.
No one should be, let me make this clear. Let me repeat this. No one should be believing their government will be active in
make the American people question whether their governments will make sure that this is acting when it strikes.
Will be making sure the active amount of strikes,
They'll be there.
they'll be there. We'll make sure the active amount of strikes will be there, says Biden. Nobody should be concerned about their government. Make sure the active amount of strikes will be there.
Will.
Okay, thank you so much. So going back to the original point here in the original clip where people are talking about it, is he's sitting here trying to say, oh, we would never control the weather. How ridiculous. What a conspiracy theory. Well, when you go back and read the paperwork, when you look at the long list of patents, when you go back and look at the long list of military history where we did this very thing, when you go watch the Michio Kaku discussion, I believe it was on CNN, discussing how we manipulated the weather in Vietnam, how we are actively looking for ways to shrink storms, grow storms, right? Oh, we stopped doing that. Somebody said, I saw somebody post about this and they said, well, we would never do that. We would never do that because there was dangers. And this was in a ground.news article that was posted on social media. And said, we would never do that because there was dangers of making them bigger. Yeah, bitch, you made it bigger. That's our claim. That was the whole claim. Yes, absolutely, you can manipulate the weather. Yes, absolutely, there is patents. Yes, absolutely, the FBI, the CIA, the government has in the past manipulated weather for their own purposes. We saw it in Vietnam. We saw it in China. We saw it in, there's so many examples of this that we saw it in our own Gulf Coast in the 1940s. Example after example. And here he is sitting in front of you. You know, that's all a conspiracy theory. Just like COVID was a conspiracy theory. Just like, you know, the election interference was a conspiracy theory. Just like the Hunter Biden laptop was a conspiracy theory. Just like the vaccine causing health issues was a conspiracy theory. Just like time after time after time after time again. Almost every one of these things. And I'm actually really surprised that Biden called this out. And the reason I'm surprised that he called this out is there's maybe 50% of the right that knows this or understands this or is hearing about this weather manipulation. That leaves a whole other 75% of the population who maybe hadn't heard about weather manipulation up until the point that Biden calls out and says, these conspiracy theorists mentioning weather manipulation. That was the worst thing Biden could have done about the weather manipulation was call it out on national television. Because now the other 75% of people who weren't hearing about it, because you have all these liberals and Democrats in their own echo chambers, not using X, using Instagram, using whatever social media platforms, TikTok, not hearing about the fact that our own government has been manipulating our weather for decades, almost an entire century now, over a century now, since 1916. Now you're going to have people looking into it who weren't looking into it. Just like people found out eventually, even if they were liberal, even if they were Democrats, that the vaccine was not the best choice for their family after you pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. That lockdowns didn't work. That masks didn't work. That Vietnam was under false pretenses. Right? So many examples of these conspiracies that the government said were conspiracies that ended up being true. And now him saying on national television that this is just a conspiracy theory and these people are crazy and this congresswoman is wrong and so are all of you. Now he's opened that door for so many people who would have never heard about that. And again, it is one of the worst things he could have done is actually mention that on live television. So with that, I will leave you, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening. Head over to RoninBasics.com, RoninBasics.com. Check out a new website. Just got done redoing it. It is under the final stages of construction, but you can go check it out, see where we're at, look at some of the products. And I appreciate you. I love you. Subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and I hope you have a wonderful